again.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Cynthia Lovell. I'm the administrator for the town council. We are at February 7th and it is 4 p.m. We're in the Selectmen's Conference Room. This is the committee to review the purpose, composition, functionality, and effectiveness of the standing committees of the town. This meeting is being recorded and will be rebroadcast on the Town of Barnstable's Government Access Channel. In accordance with Massachusetts General Law, Chapter 30A, Section 20, I must inquire whether anyone else is recording this meeting, and if so, to please make their presence known. This meeting will be replayed via Xfinity Channel 8 or High Definition 1072. It may also be accessed via Government Access Channel live video on demand archives on the Town of Barnstable website. And roll call. Councilor Burdick. Clark.
Here.
Crow.
Here.
Lutke.
Here.
Turkelson.
Here.
And we have quorum. We're also joined by Assistant Attorney Allison Cogliano for the Town of Barnstable, and Larry Moran is here in the public capacity. The item that we're going to do next is elect chair and have discussions on those. If anybody would like to make a recommendation and then have discussions regarding those recommendations, feel free to do so.
I'd like to make a nomination.
Okay.
I nominate John Crow.
All
I
right.
think John has a good grasp of town issues. I like his forthright manner, and I think there's a lot to sift through here. I think he'll ably get us through it in a very responsible way. So I really like his approach to things, and I think he'd be a great chair for this committee.
Any other nominations?
I second John. We're nominated first.
No other nominations. All right. Do I have a second for Councilor Crow?
I second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Look at that. It's unanimous. You are the lucky duck.
I'm the lucky duck.
Yes,
sir.
Last one that gets elected chair.
Although we could have nominated Seth, because he's not here.
Oh,
That's right.
All right. Mr. Chair, just so that you're aware, in your packet, what I took the liberty of doing is, excuse me, copying the Town of Barnstable Code. And within that is the admin code and a little bit of a brief explanation on how the members actually get on these committees. And then you also have a copy of each of the committees, which is in the very middle of your packet. And then you'll come to the Cable TV Advisory Committee packet. These are committees that either they no longer exist, but they're still in the code, and there's no members on them. One of the committees that is Water Resources Advisory, that is Dan Santos's new committee that he has, having to deal with water issues, so that kind of took on the water resources, so it was formerly called RAC. That one no longer meets, but Dan does have that other one that I believe President Penn appointed people to when she was president. So that one took the place of RAC. The other one that I'm uncertain of is the Library Committee. That was a committee that used to be a representation of all the town libraries in the town. And it hasn't reported to us probably in 5 to 6 years.
When they were in service, what kinds of things did they discuss, accomplish?
They would tell us, they would have a representative of each of the libraries come to the town council and let us know what programs they ran. Every library has a representative. John has Cynthia, I believe, right? She's amazing. She does all kinds of stuff over in Osterville. The Marston's Mills Library does. So they come in and they tell you what they're doing, where they get their funding from, where they're at with their building needs, and just basically what their board meets on and what they do for the residents of the town of Barnstable. But their code is in there. They do report. They're supposed to report, I believe, to the town manager. But we have not had anybody.
And what about the Jane Ashbot? Is that officially sunset?
No, that's still one of them that is, still has members on it. One of them is, I believe, a judge. The other one is, all that is in there.
Okay.
Yeah, it's all in there. And basically, that's, I guess, what you guys will do going forward.
Okay, can you just go back over the RAC? Dan Santos is now handling that himself.
No. RAC was the Water Resources Advisory Committee that met probably 4 years ago, that came up with some solutions, and they presented them to the town council. But since then, that new committee that the town council doesn't have any, the appointments committee didn't have any role in it, so I don't know who's on it, but it's run
This is
by
on it,
Dan's,
The Comprehensive Wastewater Management Committee?
yes, yeah.
That was appointed by the appointments.
Okay, so that has replaced the RAC.
No, this was,
No,
this
It
is-
wasn't appointed, it wasn't
No.
appointed, it was appointed by the
That's right,
president.
Right, I'm sorry.
The RAC has been replaced by the ad hoc, like kind of a sort of ad
Right.
hoc-ish committee
CWMP
that's
committee.
reviewing the CWMP,
You're
the
right.
5-year review.
right,
And so they've kind of reinstated themselves, probably with some similar members from this RAC that's in here, because of their working knowledge, developing the CWMP. Some of those people were pulled from there, and then President Penn at the time
Yes.
also put other new people on there, and residents are on there. So that's kind of, it's got a little bit of a new flavor because we're doing the 5-year review of the CWMP. So it's a little different than the RAC, but
right,
it's a cousin.
right, yeah, that's a good way to put it.
Okay, well, I put together some things for this meeting, because I was gonna hand this to the chair, but I figured that's me now, so. And I think you've provided some of the things. I just wanted some baseline information about the committees. Sections of the charter and the code and council rules that have any requirements about committees, so we have those here. All standing boards and committees listed in the code, are these broken out by those that are regulatory and those are advisory?
No, unfortunately, I did not do it that way, but I can certainly do that for your next meeting. I can put the regulatory in one section and then
That'd be
the
great.
other ones that aren't regulatory in another. These are just all alphabetical according to how they're listed in the code.
Okay, if you can do that, it'd be great. I think
Sure.
it'd be,
You know, if you don't mind, John, maybe what Cindy could do, instead of making another whole packet, just list what's a regulatory board and what's,
Sure, yeah,
Okay, that'd
you
be
know what I mean?
yeah,
Instead
makes
of
sense.
making
Yeah,
more.
yeah, waste of thing, yeah.
yeah.
And also, those that are active and inactive, so
Mm-hmm.
we have those there somewhere.
Yep, that's the last packet that starts with the cable TV advisory. Those
Yeah,
are the
okay,
ones that are no
good.
longer active.
Okay, and the ones that are inactive, can you maybe list the committee's charge and when it last met? The ones that are inactive?
Sure,
Okay, that would be good. Now, this has the membership requirements for each committee in this packet already?
yes.
Okay, good.
Yep. What's required, if it's, a representative member from another board, that's clearly spelled out in the code for each of them.
Okay, and the other thing is, the title of this committee does not include ad hoc committees in the code. It would be useful for the council to maybe provide us a list of those ad hoc committees in the code that expired or for purposes of cleaning up the code.
You mean like the economic
Yeah.
advisory, ad hoc economic
Development,
advisory,
yeah.
economic
Development
development?
task force and stuff like that.
I think that was retired.
Okay,
Yeah, the BEDC doesn't exist anymore, and nor does, and we, as a council, dissolved that in 2019. There was a list of, Agricultural Commission was one. The Cable TV Advisory was supposed to be on that list, but somehow was missed, and it didn't get dissolved, but they're,
And that's when the recycling and DPW advisory got merged into infrastructure.
right, and there's no personnel anymore, there's no Public Works Commission anymore. Those are all gone. I don't believe there's any of the other committees that may be listed on the town of Barnstable, like the accessory dwelling, affordable accessory dwelling. Some of those are out of the town manager's office that don't have anything to do Like the water board, the Hyannis Water Board, that is not in our purview, that's a town manager appointed one. The
Is that
ad,
considered, are those though considered standing, we're back to the whole question. Is that considered, or are those considered standing committees of the town? The ones appointed by the town manager, are those considered standing committees of the town?
I would think they would be, because the Hyannis Water Board's been in
Right.
existence forever.
So that would be the purview of this group, would be to review those standing committees of the town that might not be appointed through the appointments committee, but might be mixed in as part of the 43 some odd committees that we have.
Yeah, I can certainly give you a list of all those that are also town manager appointed.
Yeah, that would be good.
I did not bring any of that information, because obviously the charge, I didn't elaborate on the charge saying that every committee, because
Yeah.
there's probably millions of them that I don't even know. Because the airport commission has 3 subcommittees off of them, but that's their purview to have a subcommittee off of their main committee. So I didn't list
Yeah.
any of those either. CFAC has another, they're one for always having like subcommittees off of their,
Yeah.
I didn't list any of those.
No, but CFAC is listed within.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yep.
You're thinking of stuff like the local comprehensive plan committee.
yeah. Or the affordable
was-
housing.
Right, I didn't list
trust
any of the
committee.
ad hocs. None of the ad hocs are on here,
Right.
because they all sunset. They're going,
Yeah.
they all have a sunset date, so they
No,
go
I'm
away.
I'm thinking like the Affordable Housing Trust,
The town manager appointed, I
the
understand.
town manager appointed committees that
It
we.
almost,
Yeah.
to me, it almost, for the mine as well as the public's benefit, I almost think either the town manager appointed committees should be under a different heading or listed in a different color on the website
Well,
or
it
something.
might be something that you might have Allison look into as to why there are some appointed by the town manager only, and those that are
That'd be good to
not appointed by, that are appointed by the council president or leadership, and then those that are appointed by the appointments committee. There's technically 3 subgroups that you could
Yeah.
get on a committee here for. It all
That'd be
depends
helpful,
on,
just-
so I'm not sure.
Just how they derive their authority.
That's a good idea, Chris, is kind of like, because we had this confusion with the rules.
Right,
You weren't there for that, but we were, it's like, that would be helpful. It's like town council
Authority.
appointed committees and town manager appointed committees. That might be nice to have them broken out that way or labeled as such more clearly on the website or some way to,
Because they answer to the town manager, they don't answer to
Yeah,
the council.
because they're all kind of bundled together, which does make it confusing.
and like, Chair Councilor Crowe was saying, the regulatory, they have teeth,
Sure.
they can make
Yeah.
decisions without us.
And their authority comes from the state statute.
Correct.
They don't have to answer to the council. They can make regulations on
Right.
their own.
Like the Hyannis Main Street Waterfront Historic District has to also follow the mass statutes.
Sure. And Old Kings Highway,
Mm-hmm.
true. That's true.
Okay. And there will be some way for, a simple way to hear feedback from the staff on these different committees. Because they have some expertise, obviously, and experience on these.
Yeah, you could invite any one of the chairs. They all have a chair.
Yeah.
They also, most of them have staff support.
Yeah.
Some of them don't, but you can certainly ask the chairs. Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
And there could be some committees that their work is the same, so you might want to combine,
Yes.
looking at some committees.
Yeah.
This was done probably, oh God, Chris, when was the last time we did this, 2015?
I think it was before I was elected.
Yeah, I want to say Janet Jokum.
Yeah.
That was a while ago. That was, yeah.
I was elected in 2019, but I think that the committees got looked at and
Yeah, I want to say it was 2012, 2015, we did this once. We did this.
In these documents that you have here, do you have these in a downloadable format?
I pulled it right off the E-code. Yeah, you can go right into the E-code and print anything that's on the town clerk's page. And any committee that is existing within the town has to be with the clerk as a recognized committee.
Allison, I didn't catch your last name, I'm sorry.
Cogliano.
Cogliano, just like it sounds.
COG, yeah, LIANO.
And will you be at all these meetings also?
I will.
Do you have a contact we have for you that I can contact you?
You should, I'm happy to write down my email, but
Is it Allison.Cogliano?
Same.
At town,
Exactly.
yeah, she's in the legal office.
Okay. Okay, tell you what, I think we ought to just, take this home and take a look at it and get a grasp of it.
Yeah, there's a lot of info.
Yeah, and we ought to set up our first meeting.
I have a question for you. As far as your question about, what was your question about in there about like how do members get appointed or those kinds of things? Is there something, I mean, I don't
Yep.
know that it's
It's all in
Cindy's.
there.
No, I know it's in there, but we need to get that information in a usable format, and I don't know that it's necessarily just Cindy's job. Did you want us to did you want to split up the boards and each of us looks at certain criteria and collates that data? I just think it's a lot of work,
Yeah,
and I know Cindy has a lot of things to do, and
Yeah.
there might be
I'll do
data
whatever you guys, however will make it easier for you to interpret.
what is your suggestion of how we would do
Well,
this?
what is it that you wanna know what each committee makeup is?
Committee makeup, what their charge is, and what their,
Yeah, if you
Yeah.
go to like the airport, the very first one, it'll say the term of office, it'll tell you that there's 7 members appointed for a 3-year term. And then right underneath that, it has the authorities and responsibilities of what they're supposed to do, what they're charged with, who they interact with. So each committee has that same description
okay.
of how they get on there.
Do we have the membership of each committee and the length that those
Mhm.
people have been there?
I can print that report
I
for
think
you
that would
too.
be helpful to see,
I think so too.
which committees have been kind of coalesced around a
Yeah, I normally print it for the appointments committee so that they can see it, so I'd be more than happy to provide the same member sheet for this
Yeah.
committee as well. And that has on there their name, their first time they were appointed, and when their term ends. So if
That
they
would
were
be
appointed in
helpful.
1993, it'll say
Yeah.
1993, but their term ends in, 27 if they keep getting reappointed, so. And that information's on that report.
All right.
And I think having looked at all this stuff for the appointments committee, when I didn't know
Yeah.
when I didn't know anything,
Yeah.
is like Chris said, is like if we have the breakdown, maybe we look at it like regulatory, we start with those, and then we look at advisory, and we start with those, and then we look at the town manager appointments, so it's just like, because I think that your brain space, how people get there, and what, their reporting relationships, it will be easier than just jumping all around to like,
I'll make sure I have an outline for you.
Yeah, that'd be good, okay.
Yeah.
All right,
because it's a lot of committees.
yeah, it seems like a lot of committees, so, yeah, we can
There is a
probably
lot.
start with that. And then, if you can email us that, and we can each take a look at those committees first, and then move on to the other ones, and instead of having to go through all this at one time,
Sure.
which would be good.
All right,
Okay.
so you want to start with the regulatories first? Is that what you want to start with?
That'd be a good idea. I
Okay,
think so.
I'll bring all that information and who's on there, and we'll go from there, and then the last one we'll handle is the one that the town manager appoints to, and how those get appointed, because some of them have judges, lawyers, so I'm not really
And
sure.
I think some of that stuff's also, like, the Affordable Housing Trust, I think, isn't that, Chris, some of that legislative through the state?
There's state legislation that enables the
That
town to do
enabled
it.
that trust, so,
Right, same thing with the Lombard. When the Lombard Trust was established, the money was left by a Barnstable resident for the purposes of serving the poor. And that's why it's under the town manager. Judge Scanlon's on it, and they take in.
Judge Reardon.
Excuse me. They take applications in from eligible income, and they sit in here, but that has obviously nothing to do with. But that was set up through a trust, through the
Trust in the
Lombard.
1700s.
Yeah, goes all the way back to the 1700s.
And Chris, you're a liaison?
Yes,
Okay, good.
by choice of the judge. He's the trustee. He's by himself the trustee.
No, I'm talking about this committee.
The liaison to Lombard
your-
Trust.
No, what's your position on this committee? Just a member?
I'm a member of the
Okay,
committee.
great, okay.
Before I was vice
Yeah, Seth is your other member.
Yeah, okay,
I mentioned it to him last night, and he said he would get here if he could. That's all he said, so.
okay.
If you don't mind, Counselor
Go
Crowe.
ahead, please.
These committees that
Yeah.
are stale or have been underperforming, if you can check out its standing and bounce it off even the town manager to see if you would find value in any of these, but like the Cable TV Advisory Committee, it had been, that's what kind of started this whole
Peg
discussion.
took it over, yeah, the town manager and the
Yeah, public education.
government access took that over now it negotiates with,
With Comcast.
yeah, so that was removed, that's why it was dissolved, because they no
Sure.
longer had to.
Well, it never was dissolved, it was just
Right,
not meeting.
right.
So unless the town manager can articulate why there is not a citizen advisory committee, unless he feels that would be helpful.
So you're saying
He
the
can-
ones that are currently inactive,
Yes,
seeing if the town manager has basically like a certain feeling one way or the other, whether
Sure.
or not they should remain or come back into play,
right,
as opposed to just being taken out.
yes.
Okay.
So that we can officially say to the public, whenever we come up with a final report, that we recommend retiring the Cable TV Advisory Committee because,
Something's taken its place, or
What-
it just hasn't been in.
yeah, because its purpose is something that escapes me. I mean, I know that it was existing at one time. The
I'll
library.
also send you, Allison, so you know, on the cable TV, Nancy Richards, she was the chair of that committee, and she's the one that actually sent a letter to the appointments committee asking for the dissolving of that committee.
Oh.
So I'll send you that.
Was that a long time ago? Because I don't remember that.
I wanna say it was in 2017.
Yeah.
And it was when the public, the
Oh, the
PEG
PEG,
came into play,
sure,
and she felt that the negotiations were no longer, or anything that their committee could do would help the negotiations with the town manager and who he had to negotiate with the state at. They didn't really have a role in that
Got it.
because of the way the process was changed.
sure. So that would be an easy decision to make, because they haven't been meeting, and the chair wanted to.
Yeah, I do have a letter from her, I
Yeah,
can
that's good
forward
to
it.
know.
So Cindy, is this where they start, the inactive ones? Is that what you were saying?
Where the cable TV advisory, yep,
And then forward,
Anything-
those are
yep,
inactive.
yep. Anything right after
So
that
this is
is,
yours.
no, that's yours,
Oh, this is mine.
Yeah.
Okay. Then that's
that's yours.
Thank you.
So these are all the inactive ones.
It starts with the cable
Cable.
TV, yep.
Okay.
Those are all the ones that are inactive or that they have not had any membership or anybody apply. One of them in there is water quality.
Okay.
And there's only been one member on that for the last 4 years, Barry Gallus. And we have not had any other applications. They've all kind of gone towards the CWMP. So there hasn't been anybody in the water quality.
But I don't see Queen Ashbon in this list.
No,
of-
because it's still, Lynn Poyant and everybody still meet, so I'm.
They meet?
No, they
yeah.
don't.
Yeah, they may not have anything on the website, but the scholarship is still given out, so
That's not scholarship, that was like volunteer of the year. Jane
okay.
Ashbon, the committee
Because
was,
we also have a Jane Eschbach Scholarship
okay, that might be different.
Committee. But let me ask Lynn about the Jane Eschbach, she can speak to that?
Sure.
We don't put,
I think Jackie Barton started it.
yeah, it's been one that's been long-standing, and I'm not sure.
And I knew Jane, I love her, I'm not trying to disparage her by getting rid of that
No,
committee.
but if it's not used anymore,
they're
there's
not-
no reason for it, in it to
Right.
exist, yeah.
And it's not even on the website anymore.
Well, we asked to take it down a year
Oh,
ago
oh.
with Felicia, because of those that were,
Okay.
the appointments, there were like 7 listings of vacancies for the Jane Ashbach committee, and I said, can you please take it down, because they don't even meet, so why are we looking for members to
They
populate
may
it?
not be on the website, Councilor Turkelson, but they're still listed in the code. So if somebody was to go to the code looking up committees and they saw these committees there, they would think they could apply for them.
Right, that's my
So
point.
that's, yeah, we gotta clean up the code, but again, that's part of the town council rule code.
Yeah.
That would be a recommendation.
I assume that nobody's gotten the award for a number of years for the Jane Ashbaugh Award. Okay.
No,
Well,
I was,
there might be a scholarship.
There's
from
a
the separate
scholarship,
than-
But
than
yeah.
the
the
actual-
citizen of the
the
year or whatever.
volunteer citizenship, no, I have not seen that
Okay.
presented in quite some time, which is why I included it in the packet,
Okay,
or in the regular packet, but I didn't know if it was tied to the scholarship one,
I see.
and I didn't want to dissolve one without asking about the other.
okay.
So Lynn Poyon is the point person for those two, so I'll ask her.
Okay, do we agree that the regulatories will be
Mhm.
first? And maybe you can give us a list of the regulatories, we can go look and do our research on those
Sure.
and discuss those first. So we'll
Yep.
do that.
Regarding the planning board, I should say, I know that's one of the regulatory boards that we have. Just so you know, I happened to leave early a meeting in here, and I sat in on a planning board meeting, and there was an attorney who was approaching the planning board for an expansion of the conditions. This was for the solar array in Marston's Mills at Wakeby Road.
Yeah.
And the planning board were unanimous in denying this attorney, this expansion of the conditions. And after he got denied, he came back to the microphone and he said, "I wanted to let you know, you are the most professional board I've worked with." And he didn't get what he wanted and came back to compliment them. So for what it's worth, that's a good functioning board.
Yes,
So I agree with it. So I think we can run through the regulatory boards, because I think they're doing their job, and they have to. They get their
Yeah.
authority from the state.
Yeah,
Planning,
pretty quick,
CBA, conservation.
And I think it's only the Board of Health, Planning, Zoning, and Licensing,
Conservation.
and Conservation, yeah, but they're all run, like you said, by Massachusetts general law.
So they don't have to answer to the town manager or to the town council. So it should be quick work, and then we can go through the others.
would you like to suggest doing the second?
Probably
order
going
of
through them
business?
alphabetically, I guess, is other than just, if Allison works on those that we're gonna recommend that we retire. What had happened before I was elected, so that was prior to 2019, is that some committees were combined, like the recycling and DPW advisory committee or something like that. So,
So maybe that'd be a good way to start, is do the regulatory, which will be fast, and then go to the ones that we should probably retire or may retire. And then we can get at the meat of the other thing further down.
and then perhaps you might want to consider some general regulations. For
Yeah.
example, somebody has approached me and recommended that perhaps there should be term limits to serving on boards, committees, and commissions.
Yeah.
Similar to term
Yeah.
limits.
We
for
had a
council.
couple of comments at the town council rules that I think we should
Right.
probably share with this committee,
Yes,
um,
exactly.
because they weren't really appropriate to the town council rules, because they were more committee statements. So I think maybe we should share those with this committee.
Is that something that's under our scope on this committee?
What's that?
Yeah, no, they were
yeah.
comments about about strengthening how our committees work, but they brought it to the town council rules.
Oh,
So it was
okay.
like the wrong.
Okay, so this is a better
And-
place.
To the committee.
And what we said
Yeah.
was, we should bring it to the committee on committees when
Okay,
it
good.
gets seated, which, here we are.
Yeah, good,
So we
okay.
have those
I think term limits
comments.
is something we should talk about too. So why don't we do that first, for the agenda next time,
Okay,
when we decide to meet, do the regulatory ones first,
Mhm.
and then the ones that we think are marginal, whether we keep them or not.
okay.
And that will get us started, and then we can move on from there.
Because we might want to add to it after we go through the
Yeah.
others as well.
Exactly, okay.
And
Sound good?
so, you know, Counselor Schnapp said she had a list of some things she'd like to bring up to the committee, so
Okay, good,
eventually we'll bring those.
okay.
Excellent.
All right.
Can I make some comments?
Larry, go ahead.
I'm gonna
Public
go
comment.
there and sit over here. I know you didn't have it on your agenda, but as Cindy would know, I'm a regular.
Did you want an agenda, Larry?
I got it. I prepared something and I'm gonna hand it out to you, but I
It
look
wouldn't
at,
be you if you
Huh?
didn't. It
What?
wouldn't be you if you didn't.
you know, most of you know that I started in the summer of '23, thanks to Betty, And in the process, I dug myself into a lot of the different rules and regulations. The biggest one was the Administrative Code, Chapter 241. Cindy's been kind about it. It's a disaster. It needs to be really cleaned up. During some of the appointment committee discussions, Kristen and I put together a template for trying to update the data on each of the committees so that the people who applied know what they were applying for. I've got that template. The terms need to be followed. For instance, composition is ignored by the vast majority, and composition is the source by which people get appointed. The biggest one, and Kristen just brought it up, at the first meeting of the TCR meetings, was term limits. There are no term limits that I know of. The only one that I'm aware of is the Commission or Council on Aging. They have created their own rules and regulations. They've created their own term limits. They're the only one that I know of. It'd be wonderful if they all did it, because it would make it easier for us. So what I'm gonna give this to you, and I want you to read it, and I want you to tell me whether you want me to go to hell or stay with you. I see myself as a valuable tool to all of you. I can do work not behind the scenes. That's something they do in Washington. I feel I can help you individually and collectively, but that's gonna be up to you. And if you are willing for me to do that, then I will do more than just come here and take notes. So I don't really think I need to get into it anymore, but I'll give it to you. A lot of the issues that you've come up with a great list already, but there's other things that, if I could come up with adding the other things that are on here, I'd have to be looking at my notes. I'd rather you read them, and then you all have my phone number, you all have my email, you all know where I live. So if you want to get into anything, just call and say, I like this, I don't like that. You can do it individually or collectively, however you want to do it. But I hope that happens, because I've put a lot of myself into it. And I want to see that it comes. It's not just, and by the way, there are really 4 other committees that really should be on one of your sessions discussed. One of them is the Appointments Committee. Chapter 37 needs to be revised. One of them is the ad hoc, because there's certain things that they should be doing. One of them is the liaison. Liaisons, some of the people that are serving as liaisons have figured out what to do, what their role is, but a lot of them don't. I think that there should be some guidance that maybe comes back to the town's TCR rules. Maybe it's something that you, as a committee on committees, incorporated. So I'll put down 4 different committees. The last one is the standing committees, and that's the one that I think is your bread and butter, whatever. That's what I think you really are. But I think the other ones, you're going to learn from them as to what they do or don't do, and it may be very beneficial. Whether you do it regularly or just devote one session to it, it's up to you.
Okay. Why don't you show us what you have, and we'll pass around and take a look at it on our own time. And,
I see Seth a lot. I'll just give one to him.
Thank you very much.
thanks, Larry. Appreciate it.
Will you look at it now or look at it later?
We'll take it for later, because there's a lot to start off here.
You want to do it now or later?
Later.
That's fine. I'd rather you do it later.
Yeah.
There's a lot in there.
Yeah. All right. We'll take a look. I appreciate it, Larry.
Could you send me a copy, Larry, as well? Thank
Give
you.
you one.
Oh, if you have an extra one, that'd be great. Either that, or you can just email it to me, just so I can include it in the correspondence with the minutes.
This is in draft form. It's going to be changed once we start
Sure.
thinking about it.
Thank you.
Okay, Cindy, I think what we need to do now is figure out when we're gonna meet next.
Sure.
And I know you have the insight on that.
We're probably going to be in the month of March. because of all the, oh, here it is. Because of all the other, committees that are meeting. We are at the 7th. Well, see, I've got the 12th, 13th or 14th, I've got the, well, that's Valentine's Day.
Oh, February.
This is, are you talking about February or March?
February, those are the 3 days right now in February that are open. If you wanted to meet
That's
again
next
next week, if that's too soon.
Yeah, I think I can't do the.
I think that's too
14th.
soon.
Yeah, we
Okay.
need time to go through some of this.
We can go into March then.
I just wanna make sure I'm clear and I understand. Cindy's gonna get some stuff together for us now, and
Yeah.
we'll be working on that individually before we meet next time.
Yeah.
Okay, all right,
And she's
just
gonna-
checking.
I think the only
Because
thing
the
she
week
needs to
after
send us
that
is
is,
the,
Yeah, no, I'm just
regulatory.
checking.
I'm gonna send all the regulatory board information to you via email so that you can look at it. You know, just don't, make sure you don't discuss it amongst each other, and then when you come back at your next meeting, you'll have information
Yeah.
to be
Okay,
able to discuss.
okay, that'd be good.
If John has something specific that he wants us to think about as far as questions or
He
formatting.
just has to email me and I'll
and you
disseminate.
could- Yeah, we just don't talk about it, but he could say,
Yep.
listen, please look at the regulatory boards with these questions in
Yep.
mind or something.
Will do, that's great,
Yep.
okay. So what do we think? We're in March already?
You
Alright.
don't have anything after the 14th? That's only half the month.
After that is school vacation week. I have a meeting on the 21st, the 24th, and the 27th. Nothing on the 25th or 26th so far, or the 28th. Actually, the 28th is not good, sorry.
You wanna try the 28th?
She just said that's
It's
not
not
good.
Oh, it's not
20,
good.
25 and 26 is open.
Yeah, 25 and 26 is open.
I think there's an LCP meeting on the 25th, is that so?
Chris would have to look on her phone, I don't have my,
That just came in, didn't it?
or if you wanna give people enough time, we can meet
I'm happy.
March 7th.
Yeah, I'd
again.
rather meet in February. I'd rather get more meetings done in the winter.
Okay.
Because I don't think we're gonna get much input. If they do, they'll probably pass it on to one of us.
How about the 26th,
26th,
okay?
which time?
What guys, what do you think, 3:34,
Yeah,
3:30?
3:30,
Is
good?
that February?
Yes, February 26th, 3:30
yep.
in this room?
At 3:30?
Perfect, a Wednesday.
Yes.
3:30.
Is that okay for you, Allison?
Absolutely, I'll already be here, so that's great.
You wanna grab another date while you got it, so you get into March, grab the dates before they're gone.
The only thing with March is you can pick a date, but I just have to make sure that IT has the staff available for the day and night. I don't have her schedule yet. Sarah's finalizing her March schedule with her staff. She said she'd have it to me by next week. So if you picked a date in March, I can just run it by her and see if it's good.
I think we should do that.
Okay, what are you thinking, you wanna stick to, any day we wanna stick to, or does it make a difference?
Doesn't make a difference to me.
If you do it later, it doesn't make a difference to me, because I have patient care kind of in the morning-ish. Kind of.
Well, how about something like,
Wednesday the
March
12th?
11th, or March
12th?
12th, maybe?
It's another Wednesday. Allison's here.
It's not far for me to come, but
Good.
Okay, 12th at 3:30?
Okay.
One thing I forgot to mention, I don't know what to call you guys. I put on the form the effectiveness committee. So this goes
Come
back
on,
to the
come.
thing that Chris did several years ago, Chris. Remember the thing you did?
Oh, no.
I
Tell me what I
have a
did.
copy of it, but it's, so I just thought, I'll call it the effectiveness committee, but if you wanna do something else.
I'm calling it the committee on
We'll call them, com on comms.
Come on, okay, that's fine.
Mr. Chair, the other thing I need to ask is if you want a Zoom link assigned to these committees for the general public,
Um,
or if you
I
want to
don't-
just keep it,
what is the?
I mean, the agenda gets posted so the public is aware
Sure.
that there's a meeting, they can come just like Larry did,
Yeah.
or, you know, I don't know
I
how
think
many
it makes an
people.
extra burden on the,
It adds an extra person to Sarah if we do it that way.
Well, it's open for the public, so they can come if they want to
Okay.
come.
Very
That'd be
good.
fine. And,
I just wanted to make sure before I,
thank you for asking. And, okay, so, I think that's, good for today. We'll meet at the next meeting, which is on the, again, the 26th, 3:30.
Yep.
Okay.
and I'll
we'll
put
wait
the
for some
agenda
of the stuff.
together, and what I'll do is send it to you, and
Yeah.
then you can, tell me if I've got everything that you wanted on there, and if not, you can add to it, and then we'll get it posted.
Yeah, I think it's just gonna be on the regulatory and then the defunct or possibly defunct committees. So that'd be good, that'd get started. Okay,
Motion to adjourn?
motion to
Yeah,
adjourn?
actually, one other thing
Quick.
that might be healthy when we're evaluating the committees, especially those we're gonna dump. I'm assuming they don't have staff support since they're not meeting, but whether or not each of these committees has staff support.
That'd
So I
be
think
helpful,
that's-
yeah.
Because if they don't, then can we combine them with a committee that does have staff support, you know, so that timing, so that the posting of the agendas and minutes and videos are all timely, because we can't necessarily expect a volunteer to know how to interface with the town.
Yeah, I currently, I do the human services, so what I try to do is if anybody does not have staff support, I've asked the chair to reach out to me to say, I don't have staff support, I need my agenda posted, how do I go about doing that? It's a lot easier to send it to me than it is to try to explain who to send it to within a 48-hour capture, make sure you got everything on there. So what I do is I do the human services,
So
and they
is it-
have somebody on there that does their minutes, so the only thing I have to do is post their agendas and their
Okay.
minutes, and it's not.
So is that the only committee that you're aware of that does not have staff support?
I think that, does the
Currently,
disability,
the disability has Tammy Cunningham,
as the staff.
our
support?
assistant HR director. Yeah.
Okay. So, yeah, so mostly everybody does have staff support.
Yeah, most of them do. There's probably maybe 3 or 4 that do not. But they either send their agenda directly to the clerk, or they send it to me to get it posted so that they're legal.
And if I may, Council President Tamish was speaking with me, and we're trying to address the fact that not everybody is current with their conflict of interest certificates. And the process is changed so that the state regulates that now all electronically. And it's Human Resource Director Bill Cole, who receives who has, apparently there's one person in each municipality who can check and see if somebody's compliant or not.
Right.
But Councilor Tamish was saying that he would be willing to support, if I understood him correctly, that people, if they're not current with their conflict of interest, they should not be serving. They should re-up and get their certificates documented
Yeah,
with the
and the
town.
problem is I can no longer check. I
That's-
don't
yeah.
have access. Only Bill Cole does.
Right.
So if somebody was to call me to say, does Jane Smith current in her conflict of interest or open meeting law training? I don't know. I have to refer them to Bill Cole, whereas before I could, because I required them all to send them to me, their certificates.
And I know that we talked about this in the town council rules, and maybe it wasn't the place in the town council
Yeah.
rules to set that up, but with it, maybe Allison, you could tell me, within this committee, could we make some guidance for committees, committee members in the town, that they, you know, that their conflict of interest is completed, and we ask them to submit it to the town council assistant, because I just think it's not likely that we're gonna walk into Cole's office on January 1st of every year with 300 members, and we
Sure.
say, we'd like you to log in and take but if we just had a system, I do it,
Sure.
when I did mine, I sent it to Cindy.
Mhm.
Members should be able to do theirs and send it to Cindy. She has all the data on all of the members when their expiration date is. I just think we need to maybe
And they're
put
all different.
something Yeah, I think we need to put something in writing so that,
There might be something else in the code of, I gave it to everybody, the admin code has, code of conduct for members. It might be in something pertaining to that of, as to what they need to do, it may be in there that you have to, I know it is when they get sworn in by the clerk gives them a packet and tells them they have to comply, but now that it's taken out of my hands, I don't know if they comply, I have no way of knowing.
Well, I can find out from Bill how easy it is for him to check, because I think that he gets I don't know, I think he gets a list of individuals who aren't complying, and it goes to departments, because if somebody in the law department say didn't complete their training, then we're
Yeah.
getting an email from Karen, because Karen got an email from
Yeah.
Bill, so
but
I'll
I
double
don't know-
check.
I don't know about the committee members.
Right, so
that-
my thought
yeah.
is if there isn't anything in here, it's up to you all, but maybe there could be something added in saying that once they do complete it, they send the certificate to whoever their administrative support is, and then that administrative support person sends to Cindy.
Yep.
That could be something.
I'm just thinking it should go direct to Cindy, that's my feeling, because you know, the administrative support could change, like that person might retire, I mean, it's probably not something major that they're thinking on their radar, whereas you know, Cindy's always touching those files related to the committees, because when they come up for, either reappointment or an opening, you're kind of in like, oh, okay, I'm in the infrastructure and energy committee, let me just sift through this and see, oh, this person hasn't done their conflict of interest. I just think you're touching that information.
Yeah, when it was in my
much more.
hands, I used to email, I think Chris can remember this, I used to email the chairs every
Yeah, so,
2 years and tell them,
yeah,
so-and-so's compliant, so-and-so's not, so-and-so, now I can't do that, so.
so I think it would be best if we could maybe work that into how the committees run, because we have the opportunity, now that we've had a change in how it was done, to kind of clean that up maybe through this committee level.
It's tricky because we're sitting, the appointments committee works all year round, so people are appointed at different times of the year, so their 2-year time limit comes up at different intervals. Except that everybody once a year has to read and sign an acknowledgement. Once a year, starting on January 1, it's a calendar year.
Good news is we have a super organized person named Cindy who I know will figure out her own tracking system to keep track of all of I don't even know how many members we have. I don't want you to go home and count, but that would be an interesting, not just how many committees, like how many members that is.
It's a lot.
It's a lot, so I
There's
trust
43
Cindy.
boards, committees, and commissions, not including the ad hocs, and there's 6 to 7 members on each of those committees.
And I mean, some people are on more than one committee, but as a general rule, I'm sure that Cindy could figure out a tracking mechanism.
Yeah, when I get them now, when people do, because some of them that are, been on the committees forever, no, they send them to me. So what I do is I staple them to their current appointment letter, so just in case somebody came in from the public, you know, they could say, because they do question it, there's been a couple that have come in questioning the planning board, and if the members were current, and I was able to pull the folder and show them that, yes, they are.
Yeah.
So it all depends if the paperwork gets to me, if it doesn't, then
Yeah.
it's, you know, it's up at the state level.
Just as a side, did the code committee come up with any suggestions on enforcing?
We haven't done code yet. We've got a meeting on
Enforcing,
Monday.
enforcing if people, we didn't address enforcing conflict of interest in the town council rules, because the town council rules regulate the town council.
Yeah.
We're not, the town council doesn't regulate the committees.
Yeah.
The town
Enforce the
code
committee.
regulates, so this group might wanna talk about that.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, I'd like to talk about that.
Are you talking about sanctioning?
Like, if somebody's on a committee and they don't do their conflict of interest, what happens then? We did not deal with that in the town council rules.
Or if they actually
Is there anything in the
have a
law,
conflict of
Allison, that
interest,
says
is-
anything?
Yeah,
If they actually have a
anybody who's
conflict of
required to be taking that, they would be in violation of the state statute that requires them to do so in the first place. So there would be consequences with the state, not necessary, so it's just a much broader net
Yeah.
than just town council rules or just our code. I mean, yeah, so internally, I think certainly there could be something done if it's found out that individuals, it kind of goes back to that conversation we were having about sanctions, right? It's kind of like, okay, well, they're in trouble on a larger scheme, the larger scheme of things, right? Are we going to be the ones to sanction or discipline or whatever? I mean, I understand discussing membership and discussing who should be on what based on whether or not they're following those rules. I just don't know I think it's sort of a policy decision, whether or not that's something you all want to say they're in violation of state law. We are at our level also going to make a move to
Sure.
take their membership away.
So, if I understand him correctly, Counselor Tamish was suggesting that if somebody's not current with their conflict of interest certificates, that they get suspended from that committee until they take they could take it that afternoon.
Yeah.
But I think he's saying that I think we as a town need to show that we're faithful to the state statute.
I'll look at the statute closer just to see what's actually in the law explaining what happens. Off the top of my head, I don't know.
That's because you do your conflict of interest training.
I
You don't know what happens. See?
I think, I wonder if the town ourselves could do our own conflicts resolution. Because I think in the last few years, it's one of my bugaboos, and I'll put it out there, is that I think there are conflicts of interest that go to the state. They're pretty obvious, and then we hear that from back from the state that, no, that doesn't matter. And I have a disagreement with some of that, okay? So.
Well, if the state ethics says it's okay, I don't think.
Well, then what is a conflict then? Because I don't think anything I've seen that are definite conflicts have ever been.
Well, the class tells you have to be make a financial benefit.
Well, that's happened a couple of times already, and then we've been told that it's not something that's a problem. So that's a problem, as far as I'm concerned.
Anything over $49.
Well, it's over.
Less than 50.
You know.
Unless I'm wrong, Allison.
No, I saw that same thing. It's $49
Less
or
than
something
$50.
total if you've got. But it's indirect. Well, anyway, double dealing and that kind of stuff. So, or self dealing. That's what I have a problem.
Right, okay.
And that's happened here, and that's not been sanctioned in any way. And I think we should have the power to do it ourselves, if that's the case.
So Allison will let us know.
Yeah.
Yeah, for next meeting, just give you more information on what the statute requires in terms of if they're not following it, but they're training. And then if what Councilor Chair Crow is talking about is bringing it to the town level, that might be a code conversation for another committee.
And does the same rule apply? We can't be more stringent than the state?
No,
I know there's
there are some nuances, but for the most part, so long as we can be more stringent, unless it explicitly says no more than, like,
Okay,
you know what I mean? But
Okay.
otherwise, if the state says no more than 10 feet, we can say no more than 20.
okay. I know that came up on a couple of other committees that they wanted to put in some more enforcement, and Karen had said, you have to do what the state does, but you can't do less than that.
Less than that, exactly.
But we can do beyond that.
You can do
You
beyond.
can go beyond, but you can't do less. So in other words, like she said, if the state said 10 feet, you gotta stay away, we couldn't say 5.
Right, but we can say
Fine.
20.
We
So
could
we
say
can-
20.
We can actually make stricter
Yes.
conflict of interest rules.
Yeah,
I think
that's
we
what
should
I
do
just
that.
wanted
Is
clarity.
this under the auspices of this committee, I assume? Okay, that would be good.
Or I think, or the code committee, the
Or the
other
code, so we'll have to
town
work
council
together.
rules / code
Yeah.
committee, so. But Allison will let us know.
And I don't know if volunteering, does that have any stipulation on sanction? Because Karen said in the town council rules, they couldn't do any sanctioning against the councilors because they were elected.
Yeah,
So, but being a volunteer, they're not paid
Committee member.
employees.
Yeah, I think that there's probably, I don't know off the top
Okay,
of my head,
all right.
but I think that it's probably taking membership away from
Yeah,
a volunteer is different than an elected official for
okay,
sure.
cool, all right, good,
So it would just be, revoking.
yeah,
Oh, so sorry,
yeah.
sorry.
But there are requirements when discussing like the removal of certain board
That,
committee
we have that
members.
in our code, yeah, removal of members.
Yeah, there are due process considerations in removing members.
But I envision if somebody's lagging on getting their conflict of interest certificate, that we wouldn't boot them off of a committee, but suspend them until they do it.
Mhm.
If it means they do it that afternoon, it didn't skip a beat or something like that. It's just an awareness or some kind of oversight so we take it seriously. Because quite frankly, I don't think there has been enough oversight.
Yeah, well, I know in years past, the town council did vote people off of committees.
Mhm.
Took votes and they were removed.
For conflict of interest,
No,
or just for
for,
not-
performance.
performance, or?
Yeah, I think there's in the town code, I know that there are guidelines in terms of attendance, that are very explicitly spelled out. And then other than that, even gross misconduct, I don't know if that's even in the code itself. So there are things beyond that require different due process considerations as opposed to things that are in the code that are automatic, no longer living here.
Yeah, I
things
don't know
like
what
that.
the rationale, but I know the town council voted at least 3 people off of a certain
I'm
committee.
just curious, historically, was that just put as like an item on the agenda, or did
I'd
it go
have
through
to
the
ask how they did it.
I was wondering if it went through the appointments committee, because we talked about that, and we said we're an appointed, not an unappointed committee. So,
I know they did it, I know it was a town council vote,
Okay.
so.
all right.
Well, we can explore that, what our opportunities are. I think
I
it's.
think there ought to be clarity,
Clarity, and I think it's important, and I think we should have our town rules, our town code, or whatever it is, that are cut and dried in certain respects, okay? Because, like, for example, volunteers, I'll volunteer in something that'll help my business, okay? Well, yeah, everybody would volunteer for that, and that's what we've got to watch out for, okay? So it's, and I think that happens more often than we think in this town. And so that's what I have a real issue with, and that should be disclosed prior to it, okay? And just writing what is that form you fill out? Disclosure. Sometimes, it's like it's not enough, you know what I mean? It's obviously you're there for a reason. They can say, I'm not there for a reason, I'm there for the right things and the right things for my community.
Yeah, that
But
might be
it's
an
really-
appointments committee,
Yeah.
because I don't really know how to stop that. Somebody, and this is just an example, but somebody had put in an application for the cultural council. And she was scheduled, she was on the agenda, it was posted, it was in plain sight for everybody to see, but had it not been for Vice President Clark, the appointments committee would have never known she had a conflict, because it wasn't disclosed on her application. It's not something that your average person understands out there, even if they have a conflict, because the woman was very nice. She didn't even know. She goes, oh my God, withdraw my application right away. But people don't know that, so I'm
So
wondering if
maybe
there's a
we
way
need
to
to
actually
clean up.
find out if there is.
Prior to appointment.
You know what I mean?
How people end up applying to the committees, and like she's saying, if somebody hasn't done the training, they wouldn't know that. I'm just gonna play the devil's advocate.
No,
Not
yeah.
everybody has a nefarious intent.
No, I agree.
No.
So, and then.
No,
but
she
there are
certainly
those that
didn't.
do,
She
you know.
certainly didn't.
No, so what I'm saying is maybe we need a more explicit nature with which we talk about our boards, committees, and commissions, where we're letting the public know, there can't be a gain for these reasons per.
Something along the
conflict
process
of
before they
interest
get to the
clause.
appointments, so that the appointments committee isn't just looking at an application with a name and address on it and saying, oh yeah, you're good for conservation, even though
Yeah.
you have a conflict,
Yes.
because it's not disclosed, because people don't know they have to disclose it. I
Yeah.
mean, conflict of interest is not something everybody walks around the knowledge with, so I don't know if there's a way to find
Yeah,
that
you're right.
out.
Because once you get appointed, then you take the class. So
Right.
you might
So
not,
Right.
maybe we need to have a little more blurby training informing the public of how we view the importance of coming and helping our town for the right reasons rather than the wrong reasons.
And the consequences of not being straightforward on that,
Right,
because
because now that you're on
it
the,
happens.
now that you're on the appointments committee, it may be, there was an appointments committee at one point that had a subset of questions that were particularly asked to every single
Yes.
committee person that came in.
I like
They
that
all
idea.
got the same question, and you might wanna narrow down some of those questions to say, you're applying for conservation, do you see any conflicts of interest if you're placed on here, and this is what I mean by that, conflict of interest spells out blah, 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 blah. And then, you might find out that people don't wanna put their application in, cause they do have a conflict, cause that's embarrassing when you gotta remove somebody in a public eye. And Council Lucky's right, we've done it twice. And it's embarrassing, cause you're gonna call
And
that person
sometimes-
in.
And sometimes our boards, committees, and commissions require certain people of certain areas to be on it, and that's kind of weird too, like, we need to have a Hyannis business member be on this board, and it relates to that area, so that's even a little weird, because it's like, well, obviously, they have a business in that area, so they, how can everybody remain 100% impartial? I mean, we're humans, we're gonna sometimes think ways we do, because they benefit me being a Hyannis business owner, and which might be different than if I didn't have a Hyannis business, so that's even a little weird.
Yeah. Well, I think you're right in that maybe we should have this training prior to formalize a person on a committee. And we should have a sheet that says, here's what a conflict of interest is, and if you by signing this, you're saying you don't have a conflict of interest, and if you end up having one, then you will be removed from the committee. Because that's what we don't have. We don't have a removal
I
function.
think the town clerk does that.
Yeah, but what we're saying is, Larry, is
does that.
that people don't know it until after they're put on the board.
True, no, I
So we
understand.
need to get them before
Yeah.
they get to that point.
No, I agree.
And
there
we
are-
need to
yeah.
set the table that it's important
Yeah.
and something we
Yeah.
take seriously.
And there are a number of people who will, besides the training, who will still come on for personal reasons.
Yep.
Okay, and we need to call them out. Okay, we just say, hey, you, before they get on committee, if it's not before, they'll sign the form that I don't have any conflict of interest, and if they sign that, and they do, it's found out, then they are immediately removed from the board. Should be said that, okay, so there's no going to the town lawyer and taking her opinion, it's either this or that, in my.
I wonder if something can be put on the website, webpage where all the boards, committee, and commissions are listed, with a link on the top that says state ethics link. You can take that anytime and just put the link to it right there. I mean, you don't have to, even if you're considering to apply, you can say, well, let me see what that's about.
Or be on the printed application that everybody has to fill out, so then they understand, because not everybody looks at the website.
You can attach the conflict of interest laws to the application on the webpage.
Yeah.
It comes in a PDF form that people can read
Yeah.
before they fill out the application for whatever board, committee, or commission. You can link it.
And have a positive statement by that person, whoever it is. I've read these, I've done my thing, and then I do know that if I violate these things, it's automatic dismissal. So therefore, it's known, it's out there, it's a cut and dry. Because I think we don't have that now, and that's something that is an issue. And so we'll have to discuss that another time with the code. That's okay. Okay, anything else today? All right, we have a motion to adjourn,
So moved.
all in favor? Aye.
You are adjourned. 5:05. Thank you, Allison.